In this video, we are going to create an isometric 3D text using GSAP Animation. We are going to transform from a simple one-dimensional text to a dynamic three-dimensional display. The text is playfully rotated and brought to life with GSAP Animation, giving you the chance to play around and move it upwards as you scroll. Each element is carefully crafted and animated with GSAP. So let's understand how to create this. I'm going to open the Visual Studio Code and create 3 files inside it. Inside the index.html, I have a simple HTML file snippet, and I'm going to link style.css and script.js file to this .html file. Now, inside the body, very first thing we need is to create the main section. So here we create a container. So we create a division tag with the class container, and then inside it, we create another div with the class text. And here inside it, we create a span tag and specify text to it. So I'm simply going to specify here text RE. That's upon you, you can specify any alphabet here. And to this span tag here, I'm going to specify a class and name it shadow and then save the changes. Now let's open this file in the browser. So I'm going to right click here and say open with live server. I already have a live server extension installed in the VS Code. So here we have a simple text in the browser. Now let me toggle this window on the right side, just like this. So I'm going to back to the style.css, and here I'm going to first import a font. So I'm going to just import a link of Google font and import the Rajdhani font inside this style.css. Then specify body, and to the body I'm going to specify background colors. Then I'm going to specify margin, which is going to be 0, and padding is going to be 0. After that, I'm going to specify the font family. Now as you know, we already imported this font family. So I'm going to use that font family right here. Just out that, I'm going to say font width. Font width is going to be 500 and font style is going to be normal. We specify position relative to make everything relative, and then we select the container, this one. So I'm going to select this class just like this, and then here we specify position relative and height. The height is going to be 100 viewport height. So this will add height to this container. Just out of that, let's select this text. So let me select here dot text just like this, and we also specify here position relative. Font size is going to be 45 viewport width. Let me save the changes. So here we have the text. I'm going to specify background color, which is transparent, and letter spacing, which is going to be minus 50 pixel. So I'm going to just decrease the space between these letters. Just out of that, I'm going to specify animation, rotate, 5 second, linear, infinite. Save the changes, and after that, we specify transform, rotate, X. So I'm going to rotate this element in X axis. So I'm going to pass here rotate X, and here I'm going to specify the angle, which is minus 20 degree, and I'm going to rotate and specify Y angle as well. So Y angle is going to be 45 degree. Let me save the changes. So we have the text something like this. Now, just after that, I'm going to specify the transform style. So transform style is going to be perspective 3D, and the perspective is going to be 14 pixel. And then after that, I'm going to specify background color red. So you can see when I specify background red, we have the text division tag, something like this. Let me just comment this just for now. And then to this shadow, let me add some styling. So just down here, let's select the shadow and add here position, absolute. Top is going to be 0. Left is going to be 30%. Save the changes. So we have the text right here now at the center of the document, because we specify the absolute position to the shadow. And now just out of the shadow, here I'm going to specify color. Color is going to be the hex color. So I'm going to choose some hex color and pass that to this shadow like this. And then specify transform. Translate Y is going to be 150 pixel. After that, I'm going to specify Z index. Z index is going to be minus 3. And just out of that, I'm going to remove the stroke of this text. So to remove it, we need to use here WebKit text stroke 5 pixel, and then I'm going to specify text color, something like this. So this is going to add a stroke, width and color to this text. So we have this white border with this statement. We specify width 600 pixel and height 625 pixel. And at the end, we specify cursor pointer. Save the changes. So we have this cursor pointer to this text. Just after that, we also need a division tag just after this container. So when we hover on that division tag, I'm going to animate this text. So here I'm going to add a div to animate 3D text. So let's create here a class called circle. That's upon you. You can specify any name to this class. Let me save it in the style.css right down here. I'm going to add that class and then specify width 600 pixel. Then height is going to be 600 pixel. Just for now to see this class, I'm going to specify background color red. So when I save this, you can see we have this division tag right here. Just for that, I'm going to specify cursor pointer and position is going to be absolute. After that, I'm going to specify top 10%, just like this, and left 40%, just like this. And just after that, we specify display flex, justify content center, and align items center. Now, once we've done that, let's back to the index.html. And here, we need to create a multiple text here. So let me first hide this div. Instead of a single text, let's create multiple text here. So if you back to the finish website, we have multiple layers of text. So to create this, we need to duplicate this span tag. But before we duplicate this span tag, we need to identify this span tag with some classes. So to the first span tag, we specify _0 to identify this span tag as a 0 index span tag. Then I'm going to duplicate this like this. And this is a span tag of class 1. Duplicate this. This is class 2. And I'm going to duplicate this until we have 12 span tag. And we have the same text in all these span tags. You don't have to change this text, right? Now, once you have all this text, let me save the changes and back to the website. You're not going to see any effect here because all your text layer is behind this text. What you have to do is you have to adjust the position of this text using style sheet. So if you back to the style.css, scroll down, and if I select the first layer, let's suppose if I pass here dot _1, if I select this first layer, this one, if I try to specify here top 110 pixel, then you can see we have a different position to the first layer. And I can specify here left 31%, just like this. So this is my first layer. Now I can do the same for the second layer as well. So if I just copy and paste it here, and now this time I want the second layer behind this first layer. That is why I'm going to use here 100 pixel and increase the left position, which is 32. And I'm going to change the class _2. When I save the changes, you can see I'm going to have the second layer here. Let's do the same thing for all the classes. So let's copy it, paste it here, and do this for span 3. And I'm going to change this to 90 pixel and it's going to be 33%. So you have the result something like this. And if you specify here minus sign to the top section, just like this, then you have your span tag at the top of this viewport. Save the changes. You can see we have the span tag at the top. Let's do the same to all these span tags. Now you can see we have the text what we want. Let me do the same thing for all the sections. So let's suppose if I add here 4 and I'm going to minus 10 from this top section. So this became 80 and increase 1 in the left section. So it became 34. Let's do the same thing for class 5. This time I'm going to minus 10 from this 80. This became 70 and plus 1 to this 34. This became 35. Save the changes and you can see we have the result what we want. Let's do the same for all the classes. Let me save the changes. Now you can see we have the result what we want. Let me just check all the classes again. Now to align this 0 index, I need to just specify here dot 0, and then specify these positions. So if I pass here 20, 120 and 30, then I can align this 0 index. You can notice. Now the text is completely ready. Let's see how we can animate this with GSAP. Now once you understand how to make this 3D text, let me show you how you can animate this. So you have to back to the gsap.com website and get the link from it. So just click on docs and click on installation. Right from here, you can get the CDN. I'm using CDN to use GSAP. So let's copy this CDN and paste it inside this index.html file right here, just before your script file, just like this. And just out of that, you also need a scroll trigger plugin. So just click on this checkbox, and when you scroll down, here you have the scroll trigger plugin, or you can copy both and replace this script tag. So let me copy both, get rid of this first script tag just like this, and paste both these script tag as it is. So now we have a GSAP and a scroll trigger plugin script. Now once we have both these clips, let me save the changes and back to the script file. Now as you know, we already linked the script.js file inside this project right down here. So we don't need to link it again. So once we link it, just back to the script.js, GSAP animation. So to add GSAP animation to this text, we're first going to add this hover effect. When we hover on it, I'm going to convert the 3D text into one-dimensional text. And when we hover out, I'm going to make it as it is. And just out of that, when I scroll down, you can see I'm going to scroll each layer one by one at the top. And when I scroll up, I'm going to reverse that animation. So let's see how to do this with GSAP. So just back to the project, and here we need to first select the circle, this one, because when we hover on the circle, I'm going to animate the hover effect. Select the circle. So right here, I'm going to say constant circle is equal to document dot query selector, and then we select the circle just like this. Just out of that, I'm going to select all the span tag, this one. So to select this span tag, I'm using this shadow class because we have this shadow class to all these span. So to select it, we say constant imgs. We call this variable img. That's upon you. You can specify any name to it. Then I'm going to call GSAP dot utils. We call the utility classes of GSAP, and then we specify the toArray method. And to this toArray, I'm going to pass the shadow class. So inside these imgs, we have an array of all the span tags. So now once we have array of all the span tags, we can now iterate over it. So first, let's create the timeline. So we call here TL for timeline is equal to gsap.timeline. And then inside an object, we call pause true. I'm going to first pause the animation with this pause true, and then add some easing. So easing is going to be back out. In the bracket, we call 1.7. Now that's upon you. You can specify a different easing to this GSAP. You can find all the easing functions inside this timeline. So when you click on easing, you have all your easing functions. So now once we have the span tag inside this variable, let me iterate over it and specify this styling. So what I want to do is, to the 0 class means to the first span tag, I'm going to specify top 120 pixel and left 30 pixel. To the first class, I'm going to specify top 110 pixel and left 31 pixel. And I'm going to do the same for all the classes but with different values. And using for each loop, I can minus 10 from this top and plus 1 inside this left. So you can notice here, I'm going to just minus 10 from this top. This became 110, and plus 1 inside this left property. So this became 31. I'm going to do the same inside this script. So let's do it. So here I'm going to create for each loop to pass values. So here I'm going to say imgs dot for each, and inside this for each function right here, we need to pass here two arguments. First is img and second is index. So with index, we are going to identify the index of the span tag, and with this image, I can access the current span tag. Now inside this for each here, I'm going to first create two variables. So I'm going to say let top is equal to 120. So this is the initial size of the first span tag. You can notice if I back to the style, here is the initial size. So I'm going to specify that here, and let left is equal to 30, just like this. And now what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to say console.log, and I'm going to say top minus 10. So now if I print this, if I save the changes, open the console, then you'll notice we have 110 13 times. What I want to minus 10 from this top property. So what I can do is I can say here top minus I means index and divided by 10. If I save the changes, you can notice I'm going to have the values what I want. I'm going to first minus the index value from the top and then multiply it with 10. So for the first span tag, we have 120. For the second span tag, we have 110 and so on. So we have all these values using this statement. And I can do the same for left as well. So if I specify here left plus I, the index value, save the changes, then you will notice we have all the left values inside this console. So the first span tag value is 30, 31 is the second span tag value, and so on. So if I back to the style sheet, you can notice 30 is the first span tag value, 31 is second, and so on. So now what we need to do is we need to animate and add GSAP animation to all these span tags. So to do that, we need the timeline. So we call TL.to. So we call the GSAP to twin, and here we pass IMG. Make sure you don't pass here IMGs. Now this refers to this constant variable. We are not going to pass the IMGs inside this for each. We are going to iterate over all the span tag. Let me change this to span, and I'm going to specify here span just like this, and then here we pass comma and pass an object. Inside this object you need to specify the animation. So I'm going to specify the top property. I'm going to specify that previous calculation. So here I'm going to add the backtick operator, and inside this backtick I'm going to first specify minus sign because all the top properties have this minus sign, and then we specify the dollar sign, and in the object we specify top minus I divided by 10, and make sure you pass the pixel unit. Just after that we pass here a comma and specify left property. Now to the left property, here we specify the backtick operator again, and we specify here dollar. In the object we specify left plus I, and then make sure you pass the unit as well, which is %. Now we pass comma here again, and then I also want to change the color of this text when I hover on it. So here we pass color. Also going to change the color when we hover on the text. So we pass here a hex value to this animation, and at the end right here when you close this object right here, you pass comma and specify timing. So in the double quote we specify minus equal to 0.45. So I'm going to run each span tag after 0.45 seconds. So this is going to add some delay to each this span tag. Let me save the changes. This is not going to do anything. We need to start this animation. As you know, we already paused this animation right here. We need to start this animation when we hover on it. So we first call here circle just like this, and here we say add event listener, and the type of event is going to be mouse enter, and I'm going to specify listener here. So we call here an object. So we call here a function, a callback function, and then call TL dot reverse. So we call the reverse function of timeline. And let me do the same. So we copy and paste it again just like this. Change this event to mouse out, and this became play. So with these functions you can start and stop the animation. Now when you save the changes, you are not going to see any effect. This is because you already have the styling. You have all the styling inside this style.css file. What you have to do is you have to specify the initial position to these elements, to this span tag. So instead of the styling, let me comment this just like this, and you have to specify here initial position, top is going to be 0. So you have to do the same for all your elements, just like this. You have to comment the previous styling because we already apply the styling with GSAP. So we comment all the styling and pass the initial position to it. So now once you comment all this styling and pass top 0 to it, let's save it back to the script tag. And now when you hover on this image, you can see you're going to have your animation. Now just for that, we also need to add this scrolling animation to this text. So to add this animation, you have to back to your script file right down here. Let me add a scroll just right here, and here I'm gonna add let TL is equal to GSAP dot timeline, and inside this timeline, inside an object, I'm going to add the scroll trigger plugin. So we need to call here scroll trigger, and inside an object right here, when you call the scroll trigger plugin, you have to specify your trigger element. So we call here trigger, and the trigger element is going to be container. And just out of that, here we pass pin, which is going to be true. Then we pass start, which is going to be top. I'm gonna start this animation when the top of the element reaches to the top of the viewport, and then I'm going to specify here end. So I'm going to end the animation when the bottom of the element reaches to the top of the viewport. Just out of that, I'm going to say here scrub. So this will add a smooth scrubbing. After that, we add here easing. So we call ease, and then add some easing function here. So let me copy and paste easing function here just like this, and then we need to add twin to this timeline. So to add this, we need for each. So let's do the same thing. Select all this span tag, this one, call dot for each, call the callback function as it is, and inside this we need to pass here span and index as a parameter. And just out of that, you can access your span tag and the index value using this parameter. Right here we call timeline, so we call TL dot from to, so we call here from to twin, so we call TL dot from to, and here we pass this span tag. So we apply the scrolling movement to all the span tag, and then we call here comma, and in the object we pass y movement is going to be 0. So the current movement of the element is y0. So I'm going to specify translate y0 to this span tag as an initial property, and then pass here comma and pass another object, and here we pass y minus 900. So this is going to be the animated property. So I'm going to move the span tag minus 900 pixels to the upside. So with y, you specify translate y property to this element. Now just out of that, we also need to add timing. We pass here comma, and then in the double quote we pass minus equal to 0.45. That's it. Now when I save the changes, reload the browser, scroll up, you can see now we have the animation what we want. Now when you scroll down, you're going to have your finish animation. So I hope you understand how to create this beautiful animation with GSAP. Like this video if you find anything useful. If you want to watch a related video like this, then check out this video.